guys, and welcome back to Environmental Social Justice. This week we're talking about money and how money literally changes everything that we do, everything we respond to. Um, and in order to get, environmental organizations on board and people to be more green, renewable energy, it has to be economic. And the whole reason I thought about this at all was I came across an article from the New York Times that talked about a man named Milton Friedman, who in 1970 he was quoted saying the social responsibility of business is to increase profit. So yeah, if companies go out of business, there's no profit, no one wins. People lose their jobs, the economy tanks. But at what cost? And that's actually a line I stole from Joel, because everybody's talking about the election and things moving forward and changes. But the reality is, at what cost does it take for people to actually adopt these programs? Um, I don't have an answer personally. I've been reading up on this like crazy. And in order for us to adopt a new Green Deal or to put in infrastructure, to invest in companies that are renewable, economical, green bonds, it's going to be $90 trillion. And most people see that number and just say, we're out. We can't do it. It's impossible. And I know a lot of people personally that have said the new Green Deal for Los Angeles is stupid, terrible idea. We should just continue with what we're doing. But the problem is that's obviously working poorly because we've now burned 5 million acres of California alone. And I've also seen feedback that it's only in California that the fires are literally stopping at our borders. If you guys want to chime in on that, I know Joy, you're involved in the whole fire industry. How do you explain to somebody that the wildfires are simply not stopping at our borders? It has to do with the fact that we do have fire breaks on the border walls, different climates in Canada and Mexico. I mean, if you want to jump, I'll stop talking. I know this is your field, so I'll let you jump in.
Well, as far as the money part goes, I believe that the state of California is going to have to take money from any and everywhere to get our utilities in order, our insurance in order, because insurance right now is not worth the paper that it's written on. Uh, and insurance companies are backing out of California like crazy, even metropolitan areas like Los Angeles. Uh, so, we basically are going to become even more beholden to all of the stakeholders, all of the financial stakeholders there are, as far as the fires go and what the state is going to be able to help handle in financial crises is going to basically be dependent on the larger hedge funds, as a lot of this stuff is going to be privatized. Utilities are going to have no choice but to be privatized in the long term and in the future. So it is all based on money and what the money sources are that we're going to be able to draw from. And I think at this point, the stock market is being propped up in a way that they are the only ones that are going to have the access to the money. Whereas California right now is dealing with COVID as well as the fires. We're in a soup bowl now with all of the people who have money as well. It comes down to, as everything in life, the haves and the have-nots. And the state, albeit used to be powerful, are slowly becoming the have-nots. And I think in the next 2 budget cycles, we're definitely going to see a greater impact and money shifting from the private sector into the state sector. Even though, right now it's such a taboo thing. You don't mix politics with um, the private sector. I don't see any other way that it's going to be able to be handled efficiently, um, and that's in all sectors.
So interesting you bring in politics. I was on a webcast this morning. I believe it was something I found through the TCFD, and it was basically primarily in Europe. I was 6 a.m. on this webcast while walking dogs, which was super fun. And a lot of it talked about politics and how the United States is pretty much behind the rest of the world when it comes to a green economy, a green infrastructure, adopting renewable energy. Um, Eastern Africa adopts more renewable energy than we do. Obviously, most of Europe does. So the countries that have not embraced renewable energy or green initiatives is the United States, Russia, and I think China, if I recall. Again, I was walking dogs, so trying to watch and walk is difficult. Um, so we are very behind, and most people I speak to in my circles on LinkedIn or whatever are from Europe. And it's not that we're the laughing stock of the rest of the world, but we're kind of, they feel sorry for us that we are not catching on. And one, I mean, again, going back to Joel's comment, at what cost? I mean, everyone's talked politics and they like their favorite person, and I get that. And it's for me, it's not about who's president right now, or it's what are we doing to better our current situation. And everyone says, well, the stock market's doing great. I happen to have a fantastic financial advisor, and I asked him that specific question. I said, whoever's president, do they really dictate the market? And he said, not really. He said, yeah, it has a little bit of an effect, but overall, the economy is its own thing, the stock market's its own thing, and it's going to run that way. Um, so when people are so afraid, oh, if we elect Biden, the stock market will crash, highly unlikely. Now, again, knowing I just put this out there, it might happen, but we do need to focus on doing the right thing. And all the reading I've been doing on, and again, people probably don't know what ESG is, environmental social governance. So again, everything historically had been profit, 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 make money, be the most successful capitalist out there. Fantastic, love it. However, at what cost? So what about the people? What about the people you're employing? What about the forests you're destroying? The CEO from Rio Tinto just resigned because they destroyed 46,000 acres of Aboriginal land that was sacred, and it was to mine. They were expanding their mining. Something mining is not exactly the greatest thing in the world to do right now. But again, what cost are we doing? I mean, if you, Joy, if you want to hop back in, or Joel, I'm sure with the whole real estate side of things and corporate development, I'm sure you see things or hear people talk about it.
Yeah, there's actually an article that I read this morning. I'm trying to find it. It was all about the division of salaries in this country and how basically the middle class got shut out by like hundreds of thousands of dollars in their salary. Like they should have been making around um, $50,000 back in the 50s and 60s, or 45,000. They should be making over $100,000 now because the trillions and trillions of dollars in the economy went to the upper echelon, top 1%, and that's the way our economy is set up. Um, yeah, we've just screwed ourselves. That's just the way it is. I mean, we still live in this greed is good. I mean, if you want to talk about that kind of stuff, our the LA housing market is absurdly expensive, in my opinion. I think it's overpriced for what you get, but I mean, as long as people are willing to pay it, the market's going to go up. Um, yeah, we've just screwed ourselves. I mean, we have an economy that's not set up to work for everybody, and we have become the haves versus the have-nots. I remember that fire on the 405 a few years ago. The best article that I read on it, they actually called it the second coming of the Gilded Age, because the fire at the base of the mountain was set by a homeless encampment because they're trying to survive and live. There was literally nothing in the middle except dry brush, and then the millionaires at the top of the hill. So it's like they actually compared them. Like that was actually a very telling sentence, I thought, to say where we're at as just society in general. We've kind of done it to ourselves. Yay, go us. But I mean, it's not just that. I mean, but you have to look at our society as a whole. If you work full time, you feel guilty taking vacation. You still work on vacation. Like you're not, that's just who we've become. And I don't know of any other country that really works that way, where you feel guilty to go on a holiday, which is sad.
Funny you mentioned the working on holidays. When I was heavily involved in insurance, I worked every single holiday, including my honeymoon, until my buddy Tucker took over for me because he was like, "You're crazy. Stop working on your honeymoon." Um, but talking about the wildfires, so yeah, the encampments are an unfortunate thing, and we're going to see more of that. We're going to see more homelessness. Um, we know this is coming. I do have to comment with respect to the Malibu fires because the homeless encampment started that one as well. A myriad of other things, but there were homeless encampments involved. And my sister-in-law actually commented. She said, they're not cooking soup in those fields. So there is a lot of drug use going on. There's a lot of nefarious activities going on. And I know, Joel, take yourself off mute. You can argue with me if you want.
No, I'm not going to argue with
No,
you.
no.
I do think that's actually a very valid point, but I don't like it when that's brought up to undermine the fact that people are trying to feed themselves.
No,
So
no, not trying to
because I
take
do
away.
think that. No, but I'm just saying, it's like for me, it's just kind of a little irksome that's part of. I understand that that's part of the conversation, but unfortunately, that's what's getting that gets more attention than I think people are trying to eat and trying to stay warm at night.
You're absolutely right. I totally agree with you on that. It's just both sides do have to be seen that it's not just people trying to survive on a daily thing, and it's not just people doing drugs. We have a huge, massive issue going on. Um, One of the things, environmental investing and things like that. Why do people care? Like people keep saying, why do we care about these green initiatives? And there was one thing that hit me pretty hard. Was this guy said, vineyards are going to dry up. You like your wine? You like going to France? Those vineyards will be gone. It'll be too hot, too dry, and Alaska will be actually the temperate climate that people can live in. And the Swiss Alps will completely melt. And I thought that was very interesting because most people don't see it that way. They see everything's warmer right now. We have a longer summer. This is great. It's just a stepping stone. We are slowly migrating to hotter climates, and some people get very vocal. Some I've seen people have absolute screaming matches over this. I don't scream, but the reality being is we do need to act. We do need to do something, and our infrastructure right now is just not designed for it. I've talked to the Now, I am not against gas. Joel, you and I have been on the chamber's public policy, where the guy from SoCal Gas was on, and I am not against natural gas. We do not have the infrastructure to be 100% electric right now, and we do not have the raw materials to be 100% electric right now. And I keep talking to people about that. And everyone says, oh, we could keep mining, 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 mining. Well, what does mining do? Mining is a huge carbon footprint. Acid mine drainage, because this isn't just, you're finding the materials and it's just being pulled out of a rock, no problem. You're using acid to leach out the metals, and then you've got this waste product that's just going into rivers and streams.
But again,
And
to the money.
Yeah, go ahead, Joy.
But again, it comes down to the money. What Joel's speaking about, the housing prices, stay elevated without jobs. I mean, those values are propped up for a reason by all of the homeowners in the areas, Bel Air, wherever the areas that we're talking about. They're propping up the values of the house for the money content. They don't want different people to move in. They're instead of turning office buildings, especially during COVID, into housing for homeless. Again, they're keeping the property values propped up, so the state can't even come in and afford to buy, let's say, an office building, turn it into housing. It's jobs, again, what Joel was talking about, propped up for the people that have, to keep other people out of the job market. And then, the homeless portion as well, keeping them out of the conversation, ceasing to help them with the mental health needs that they have so that they can actually go out and apply for a job. I've always said, they want people to look for jobs, tell people, oh, why don't you even work at McDonald's? But, if I were a McDonald's eater, which I am not, would I want somebody with mental illness, working and serving the food, even at a McDonald's?
I mean, the thing is, when it comes to that point, like, how do you even get a job at McDonald's if you don't have an address? So it's just kind of like it's one big thing after the other. It's like we have thrown money at homeless issues and all these various issues, but we haven't actually looked at a systemic way to, and this is a bigger issue, which we all can talk about the systemic issues in our country. But I mean, as far as like when you start talking about the homeless, it's a systemic issue. It's like, we're like, okay, we're just going to give money to temporary shelters. That's not going to do a shit. Sorry, it's just not. If you're not going to give the help, if you're not going to give the support to get on your feet, which means a permanent address, you have to give people job counseling. I mean, I've gone to organizations before where they brought homeless people in. They don't even know, some people don't even know how to lock a door. They don't know the fundamentals. And so it's like, you can't just do it at the shelter. So it's like, the McDonald's job would be great for somebody. I don't eat there either because I just don't. But, if they're not medicated, if you don't have an address, you can't even get a job. You may not even know what your social security number is to put on the application. So it's like we have really just turned our back on our certain portions of our society as a whole, and we're just giving money, and that'll take care of everything. That doesn't do shit. It just doesn't.
So Joel, real quick, I came across an article about the homeless housing situation with building new residences for
Mhm.
low income or homeless housing. And they calculated out that per unit it was $750,000 spent. And that's in the city of LA. No, that's it. You sell luxury real estate. That's a condo. That's something, that
Right. Well, I think
really
it's
needs to
about,
move for them.
it depends on what is being built. Like, I don't know what the plans are or how they're doing it, but I mean, you can do what they did in Long Beach, where they built it was an entire community for homeless vets, and they did them out of shipping containers. And it's like that had such a low cost to do. I mean, we just don't have, where are they going to do it? Our land values are so high to build anything. So it's not just the price per square foot to build the unit. You have to look at, okay, the carrying costs. We've got to deal with the permitting. You've got to deal with the actual acquisition of the land in the first place, then the demolition, then the supplies, which, thanks tariffs, have gone skyrocketing for every single thing that you need to build. So it's not just looking at the final product, the final number. It's how did we get to that number? And it starts from acquisition all the way through to the end of construction. But yes, the number is very high.
Personal thought is I think some people are getting paid a little bit more for their services than they would in the general market.
But probably.
But that's a different subject. So going back to environmental social governance, one of the issues that, this even, so 2 years ago people didn't even hear about this. They never heard the ESG term before. And that's because companies were saying, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to say we're going to make all these changes, we're going to be renewable, we're going to be zero waste, circular economy. All of these are buzzwords. All of these companies just kind of checked off the boxes. These are things we're going to do. Reality being, they had no plan. They said they were going to do it. They said they were, we're going to be carbon neutral by 2050. How? What are you doing? And they got busted. Companies like BlackRock put a letter out saying we will no longer invest in companies that are not going to be renewable energy. We will no longer invest in companies that are fossil fuels. That sent this huge tidal wave ripple effect through the industry, that somebody would take a stand like that and follow through on it. Then the insurance companies, and I know, Joy, you're so anti-insurance company right now, but those are my people. But they actually took a stand, and they are no longer insuring fossil fuel companies, mining companies. Not all of them, some are still doing it, but for the most part, they will no longer invest in them. Now, what does that do? Unfortunately, that's strangling and killing an industry. So hopefully, simultaneously, there is job training being offered so people are just not abandoned, that they actually have another source of income. So let's say you're a miner. Joel?
No, but I think that I mean, we can look back at history as far as how those things work, because we've talked about job training for various industries to like get rid of coal and to get rid of all these things. And then people, whether, I'm not going to say everybody, but we've all seen it. People are scared of the change and what that means, because all they hear is like, you're taking away my job. That's all that people hear. They don't hear that, like, oh, yes, we are going to take it away eventually. It's not going to happen in the next 24 hours or 48 hours. It's going to be a transition to the next phase of what we actually have to do. And I think that comes a lot from the messaging of how people are talking about going forward. Because right now people hear the Green New Deal, which gives every single person an opportunity to spin it. They're then able to say, okay, great, we're going to do this. Okay, yeah, but what about me over here? So there's not an actual conversation that's happening as far as what has to be done. Because yes, the corporations don't want to lose their money. I understand that. The workers don't want to feel like they're losing their job. I understand that. So it's like both sides have to come together and just work, and people don't have conversations anymore. That's our new world.
People are improving on that. So the conversations, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers are actually offering training. So people that maybe work in fossil fuel industry with being an electrician, they are training them, teaching them how to do that for solar panels. Electricity is electricity, regardless if you're burning it or getting it from sunlight or wind. So they are offering that. There are more, and again, it's all about conversation, because you and I, and the three of us, have talked about communication repeatedly. That's why we're even doing this webcast, is we're talking about it. We're encouraging people to ask questions, to say, what do you think about this? What bothers you? There's a whole, all of these regulatory companies, you've got GRI, SASB, PRI, all of these alphabet soup companies talking about ESG. There is a discussion about consolidating it, making, instead of like 12 different companies telling you how to report, bringing it down to hopefully 4. But all I can advise is read, and not just what people post on Facebook, which is what we're on right now, but instead of conspiracy theories or, for God's sakes, fact check. I'm grown really weary of people not fact checking and putting stuff out there. But with respect to this, just read as much as you can, ask us questions. That's what we're here for. If you guys want to chime in on that one. No?
That pretty much said it all, I thought.
Joy?
No, I think we pretty much covered it for today, and we're already close to our time. But I think people should just really analyze the financial impacts, where the money is going to, where the money is coming from, follow the dollar, see where different things are being funded and how they're being funded, and what's the long-term impact of whether it's government funding or privatized funding. Just watch it carefully. I hope it's all made.
And really quick, so that article, I did find it from Fast Company. It was actually a RAND study, so I did post it in the chat if anybody wants to check it out. I admit I have not read the whole thing yet, but I think it's actually one worth reading.
Well, RAND is actually an excellent company based in Santa Monica. I know some people from there, and pretty awesome think tank. Pretty awesome group of people. But on that, guys, thank you so much. Another 20 minutes in environmental social justice done, talking about money, talking about the economy. Please comment, share your thoughts, and we'll see you guys next week on Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific. Bye.
Bye.